Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whichever time of day you happen to be turning this in. Thank you for letting me be a part of your daily devotional experience. And I just pray that God will use the things we share today and throughout the week to encourage and instruct and to give you some helpful insights into just the day-to-day journey. As you know, I love the book of Proverbs. I read it every day. There have been times in my life where I've spent just months at a time reading nothing but the book of Proverbs. And despite all of that reading, I found that it's one of those books that you kind of have to live in order to be able to experience it. I mean, otherwise it doesn't really create much of an insight. And I've read many passages and it's just kind of like gone over my head. And only after I've had a chance to go through some kind of life experiences that began to make sense to me. Anyway, today, as I said, we're in chapter 12 of the book of Proverbs, and I want to pick up the conversation in verse 11. And something Solomon said, I think is really helpful. He says, "Those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense." You know, one of the things that I found in life is really, really important is learning how to work. And as opposed to play. You may have heard me say this before, excuse me if I'm repeating myself, but I discovered at some point in my life that the difference between work and play is that play, you can quit when you're tired of working at it. But when you work and it stops being fun, it gets difficult or hard or even exhausting, you can't quit until the job or the project is finished. And I mean, this is a case in point. This has been one of those days where everything and anything that can go wrong in terms of the technological world has happened today. I mean, we had a massive outage of the internet, not only here but internationally, as I'm in the midst of trying to record a podcast for my What the World's Coming To podcast. And even when I recorded earlier this whole series of messages, I found out that I pushed the wrong button and erased everything I had said. So I'm starting all over again. And I hope that's profitable and it's good. But I think it's interesting because when he's talking about the illustration he's using here, really the context is a farmer who's working his land, that he'll have abundance of food. Because one of the things that I found in life is one of the hardest jobs in the world is to be a farmer. Because farmers, you know, they don't go out and work and then get rewarded according to how many hours they spent in the field. Basically, they have to stay in the field until certain levels of the project or parts of the project are done. And even then, they're dependent upon the weather, they're dependent upon the mercy of God, the circumstances all around them, they're dependent upon the market price or value of whatever their product is. So that they really live with a lot of risk. And that's why that's not many people who go into farming, because it's a pretty risky endeavor. And it also involves a tremendous amount of hard work. Now, when I was a kid, if I wanted fun money, my parents would tell me that I just need to go out and work on a farm. And so I worked on farms from the time I was about 10 or 11 until basically I went off to college. And I found that when it comes to time of harvest, you can't just quit. I had one job where I was loading 60-pound boxes of boxed tomatoes, onto railroad cars. And basically, when the fruit comes in, you can't stop working. So I ended up working like a 24-hour shift. I mean, I'm 16 years of age, probably breaking every labor law in the land. But I mean, basically, they didn't have enough people. They had to get this stuff in the trains, and it couldn't wait, because if you didn't, the fruit would spoil, and that would be the end of it, and there'd be great financial loss to everybody. And so you just realize you just find a energy and a strength inside of you someplace that you didn't know you had. Now, I have to admit that the next morning my mother had to wake me because she thought maybe I was dead, because she said I hadn't moved since I fell into bed. I slept for like 12 hours without moving, and she thought maybe I had passed away. I was just so completely spent and exhausted. But the whole point is that you find that when you go through those kind of experiences, you realize there's a lot more inside of you than you give yourself credit for. And when I have people talk about personal issues and struggles and battles in their life, and they say things like, well, I don't know if I can keep going on. I don't know if I have the strength to endure this or to continue to go through this struggle. A lot of times I just like to say, there's a lot more inside of you than you realize. And even when you run out of your strength and your energy, God will step in and give you more abundant help. And many of us find ourselves in situations where if we don't continue moving forward, it can be detrimental to someone else. And everything inside of us says, I'm tired, I want to quit, I want to give up. And I think that part of that dynamic in my life is what served me in my years of walking with God. Because even in a day-to-day, like, I've spent almost my entire day doing this kind of stuff, and as a result, nothing's gone forward. I have nothing to show for it. And I sit back and go, I feel like just packing up and going home. And yet at the same time, you realize, God, there's something in this. There's something that you are teaching us through these kind of experiences. So I don't know what you're going through right now, but you see, the opposite option is, as he says, to chase fantasies. And chasing a fantasy is a person who sits around dreaming about doing something, but they never really ever do it. Who often says, if I'd had the opportunity, and if I had my life to live over again, or, it's just the right circumstance. If you always wait for everything to perfectly align, you'll probably never do anything. And that's the sad thing, because I've talked to people who, at the end of their life, have told me, I wish I had been more forthright. I've been more earnest in serving the Lord. I spent more time walking with God and trying to know God. And I think how sad it is. Now, I encourage him, saying, there's still time to make a difference. There's still things that you can do and how you can be engaged. But at the same point, when we come to it, I look at my life and I feel pretty blessed, because I was 19 when I met Christ. I wish I had met Christ at 10. But the whole point is, I met Christ at 19, and God has been able to work in my life the following 56 years or so, however long it is now. I can lose count after a while. But the whole point is that I haven't lived a perfect life, but I know when I come to the end of it, I haven't followed fantasies. I haven't followed dreams of careers and successes and experiences. I've had more experiences in my life than I think anybody has a right to experience, and I'm thankful. But why did it happen? Well, not because I sat around just dreaming about it. It's because basically I took the opportunities. I stepped out in faith, and I believed that if I stepped out in faith, that God would respond, God would reward me. And that's why I love to define faith as being a risk taker for God, because there's no such thing as living a life of faith and not living a life of risk. Not foolish risk, not stupid, not impulsive, not self-serving risk, but you have the sense that God's saying go, and so you get up and you go, not knowing exactly what you're going to experience, but oftentimes, if not always, finding out that God has gone before you and good things are awaiting you. Well, I hope that encourages you, and I hope it made sense, because it will help to redeem the rest of my day that I spent doing this and gotten nowhere. God bless you. We'll catch up tomorrow. Take care.